Well, hello there. You're very welcome along to Monday morning's OTB AM, and what a weekend that was. Just two matches, but two matches that felt like about 400 matches really of different varieties of sport, different varieties of excitement. It was just hurling, but hurling, let's put our hands up here this morning, is the greatest sport in the world. It's a hurling snobbery central for you this morning on OTB AM, and we've got the right man in the studio to do it with me this morning, Shane Stapleton. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you doing?
Not too bad. I am surprised to not see you wearing a crown this morning or kind of standing at a pulpit to say, I told you so.
Yeah, full Hud Hastings, like in my ash tower looking down at the rest of you. Yeah, like it was incredible. And I was just looking at a few of the stats there, not to go full Pat Spillane on it, but there was like 214 scoring chances, so best of luck trying to sum that up. 123 scored, 73 wides, which is a disgrace, of course. 81 players were used, 41 of them scored, and 197 puckouts to try and go through as well. So, I mean, and this is the big thing. You come in here this morning and here, sum that up for us, sum up that weekend. Yeah. It's like trying to sum up a hurricane. How do you? And the damage of it, it's just, all we're left with is kind of blank faces saying, oh my God, what just happened there?
Yeah, and a hell of a lot of wreckage in those people who peered down upon hurling and called it an inferior sport. It was absolutely incredible, like just being there as well. Like I felt the atmosphere yesterday was a tad better just because of the sheer volume of Cork and Limerick supporters and how vocal they were. But God, Saturday's game as well was absolutely outstanding. Like on the Sunday game last night, they made a reference of trying to pick between your favourite children, as in how can you pick between the better game? And it's futile really, because it was almost 200 minutes of just pure joy really.
And as well, like I thought the Clare Galway game took a little bit of time to get going, and I suppose the fact that Galway were 1-7 to a point up, there's kind of this feeling that, oh, this is over. Galway are a machine these days, they're just going to blitz through them. And then they didn't, and Clare made this incredible comeback, and obviously Colin Gavin going back to the tip of the D made all the difference. And I thought it was interesting that that's where he played. Like Galway have been excellent with dealing with the sweeper in the past couple of years, and I put that to Micheál Donoghue afterwards. I said to him, like, why did you have such trouble with Gavin? And pretty much his answer for that, as it was for every question, including how are your injuries, was a big sort of a smiler. Actually, you know, sure, look, we'd hope to do it better. But that was the thing, like, and a lot of the time the sweeper is even deeper. Like, you'd see Tadhg de Búrca, and he's regularly playing on the 21, and this is another 15 yards further out, which allowed Colin Galvin to get on all the breaks behind him and all the breaks in front of him, and he did an exceptional job. You think of the 2 points that he helped set up for Tony Kiely very early after he moved back there, just made all the difference.
Let's have a look at actually what Micheál Donoghue was saying after the match. He was speaking to Maura Trassa.
Look, I think just towards the end of it, it could have gone either way, and probably a draw was a fair result. But, you know, really proud of the effort of our boys. You know, the goal after half time, you know, we went straight down, got a score which showed massive character, and, you know, we picked up a few knocks, and the lads that come in made massive contributions, which is really positive for the whole group. And, you know, we always hammered that it's the collective, you know, that stands to us, and, you know, that was really evident today with the boys that come in, massive contribution.
We all know it is a collective experience when a team go out to play. However, there are two big worry points now. Garrow's McInerney looked to be on crutches. Joe Canning, a lot of ice around his leg. I know you're probably going to say you don't know what they're going to be like yet, but it must indeed be a worry.
Oh, look, they came off obviously injured, so, but as I said, you've alluded to there, I haven't had the opportunity to even talk to the two lads, so I don't know the severity of them.
What goes through your head though when you see Joe Canning hobbling off?
Look, Joe is a massive player for us, you know, but, you know, he's just one of 35 lads that we have on the squad, so it's just paramount that we get all the injured lads back onto the field as quick as we can.
And now looking forward to a replay. It's something that everyone, I'd say, would be looking forward to, because both Galway and Clare served up a treat this evening.
Yeah, look, absolutely, and you know, I think it's been fixed for Thurles now, so it's closer for both counties, so look, it'll be a great atmosphere, no doubt.
And finally, what are you going to be thinking about and looking at now this week in the preparation for it?
Look, obviously at this stage now it's just about recovery, and we just go again, that's it.
Yeah, he keeps his cards close to his chest, even more so when we've got another replay next week. Yeah, it's an interesting kind of timing of the fixture, isn't it? Or like the football should definitely have been fixed for 4 o'clock to allow this to be played at 2, and that there be no crossover in television thing. I know it's only a small detail this morning, but I thought maybe Bank Holiday Monday might have been when the hurling was fixed for.
It's very unfair on players though to put it on a Bank Holiday Monday, because you know, let them have a life too, let them enjoy a night out after the game, because, you know, at least they'll have Monday off to enjoy it. One thing I thought was interesting is looking through the 4 teams that played at the weekend, Limerick used 22 players. You know, obviously you can use extra ones in extra time, and Cork used 1, 2, 3, 4. They used 20 players, but of the subs that Galway used, 2 of them were to bring on guys who had started previously. So, you know, we all thought that Galway were the new Kilkenny, etc., and were going to steamroller everyone. But when they had a couple of key injuries, they had to go back to the well and bring back on Conor Cooney and Joseph Cooney as well. So maybe they don't quite have all the options that you'd expect for such a strong champion. And the fact that their spine is under threat, like Dathi Burke, I wonder was he playing possum with the ankle injury, because he was limping through the parade, and I was like, oh, this poor devil, he won't last 5 minutes. And then he goes out and he's very good. Now Conlon was obviously very good too, but Grode McInerney, I thought, like, if you lost Dathi Burke, I think they're in savage trouble, because they don't really have someone to go full back and block out that high ball threat. We saw in 2015, Seamus Conlon scored 3-8 when he was on John Hanbury and when he was on Pádraig Mannion at full back. And you saw John Hanbury in trouble with Aaron Shanaher under the high ball. John Conlon's going to give anyone a rough ride in there as well.
Shanaher starts next day, doesn't he? Twin Towers says they were referred to in commentary.
Yeah, but that you'd wonder, like, a lot of the time it's great to have that high ball threat on the bench, and I'm not saying that that's all that Aaron Shanaher can do, but as well when he's just coming back from the cruciate as well, maybe you want to mind him a small bit. So it's great to be able to spring him, and you know, you'd expect you get a bit more out of Podge Collins the next day. Now he wasn't. It's not that he wasn't making any impact at all, because he's got a role where he's roaming out from the corner, and that can actually be tough to get on the ball at times, because the job of your marker is simply to just be on you all the time, and someone like Adrian Toohey is going to enjoy floating. It can actually be an okay role. The question for Galway is, do they want to remain as predictable in some ways as they were, which is just high ball on top of Johnny Glynn over and over again? It worked early on. He went out to the wing and he caught some ball off Shane O'Morey. But do they need to get more out of Conor Wheel and pop the ball in front of him, pop the ball in front of Conor Cooney? He's a big man, but he likes any sort of a ball going into him. Cathal Mannion got 4 great points, but did he get enough of a ball in front of him where he can do that damage? Because if he gets it into his hand, his sidestep is incredible. So I just, if you look at the Leinster final and then the Leinster final replay, Galway Kilkenny, they did high ball the first day and they doubled down and did even more the second day. So I'd be curious to see how it goes for Galway, and especially if Joe Canning is out injured. Like the beauty for them early on is that Joe Canning was standing at 11 with Conor Cleary on him, but he floated around the place, and he was in his own half at times, and therefore that meant there was a full open door in front of David McInerney and Johnny Glynn. So are they going to allow that again? We'll call him Gavin, play sweeper from the start. It's very interesting that way, because we don't know who's going to play for Galway and if Clare will go with that sweeper from the get-go.
Yeah, you'd imagine there's going to be a few little trickles of information as the days go by. We'd love to hear your thoughts this morning, actually. You can tweet us at Off The Ball. You can comment on the stream as well if you happen to be watching on YouTube or on Facebook. What's coming up today then? We've got hurling all the way, as you can see on the left-hand side. Literally, we're going to be speaking to Limerick legend Kieran Carey a little bit later on, of course. His nephew Cian Lynch scored one of the goals for Limerick yesterday. It's going to be great to get his take later on. Tommy Walsh, amongst a number of voices we've got on as well from yesterday, and plenty of reaction coming your way. But before all that, let's get Tommy Welch's take on yesterday's win for Limerick.
Is it a worry that yet again Cork get to semi-final stage, aside from 2013 obviously, and they can't come over that hurdle to get into the All-Ireland final? Does that indicate maybe a lack of depth in Cork hurling?
No, I don't. I think, isn't it a great thing that they're always in semi-finals? Like we see that great Clare team that won the All-Ireland 2013 haven't been here since 2013. So no, I wouldn't see it like that at all. They scored 131 today. Like, who scores 131 and gets beaten? Like, it's probably unheard of. Like, I'd love to see the last team that scored that and got beaten in a championship, let alone an All-Ireland semi-final. So I'd say the result would be 0. So yeah, how did they lose? I suppose they are very attacking, so I think when you are attacking the same way that they do, you probably are leaving yourself open to maybe the other team coming back. But they're playing to their strengths. They tried the sweeper system many years ago and it didn't work out for them. So listen, they will have good days. Cork have had great days in Croke Park in the past, and they will have great days again.
Limerick definitely have a good day to look forward to now, but an impact obviously in their preparation is that 1, they don't know who they're playing yet, but 2, they'll have an extra week. Yeah,
they'll have an extra week, and I think the main thing is Kiely has shown that he will keep the panel and the squad and the management and the backroom team, he'll keep their heads very level headed. They won't get carried away, because that's just the way he operates. We've seen that even after the Kilkenny game. hadn't beaten Kiely since '73. He didn't allow any, any too much exuberations or that. So, yeah, he'll have the only thing I would say is the Limerick supporters, I'd say, will go mad over the next few weeks, and rightly so, because it's not every day you get to an All-Ireland final, so they should be allowed to, but maybe keep an eye on the players. Don't really maybe enforce it on them, but get out the scarves, get out the flags, decorate the cars, paint the houses, let it all happen now over the next few weeks, because All-Ireland finals are there to be celebrated, and just maybe keep an eye on the players, kind of try and stay away from them maybe. But only 2 teams can get there, and only 1 team can win, so listen, you just have to stay hoping and stay trying, and that's the way I think to do it.
You've been involved in some great battles over the years. You've had some great wins, and you've had some losses that I'm sure are hard to take as well. Cork look crestfallen down there today, and I think Seamus Harbedy was telling me that this is one of the hardest ones to take. Why are a loss is a loss, somebody, a layperson may say, but why are some harder to take than others?
I think for them, I suppose, it's the pain of last year. So they had that when they were hoping to go on and beat Waterford in that semi-final. This year then, they came up and said, listen, do you know what, we're going to make up for last year. This year we're going to go one step forward, we're going to get to the final. 6 points up then with 6 minutes to go. They probably thought they were, going to go on and finish off the job, but unfortunately it didn't, and they're going to have to live with that. But listen, we all have regrets. I had many great days here. I have so many days between club and county that that you feel bad about. You just get over it, and these things happen. And them Cork lads will. They're young and they're energetic, and they're young players. Fitzgibbon and Carney and these guys, they were brilliant today. And Conor Lahan stepped up when he needed to step up in that second half. And I'd say what will make it hard for them is they played so well and still were beaten.
Finally, it's time to put Tommy Walsh on the spot again. One word answer: who's going to win, Clare or Galway next week?
Galway this time.
And who will win the All-Ireland final?
So it's a Galway-Limerick final then. Limerick.
Why?
I don't know. That was the first they came into my head. But I tipped them earlier on in the year now. I tipped a good few different counties in different things, but I have a fundraiser at home that I tipped Glan to be top scorer and Limerick to win it. So listen, I tipped a lot of teams so I'm just going to cling on to that one. But listen, we'll go with Limerick, but I haven't a clue really, to be honest.
Good stuff there from Tommy Walsh in conversation with Maura Trasny-Kiely in the Croke Park press box yesterday evening. I love the way when people are asked for a one-word answer and they say Galway this time or something like that. Galway, when they talk about the Limerick versus Galway potential matchup, because people have been kind of putting the pieces in order for the last couple of days, the perceived wisdom is that Limerick have the beating of this Galway team based on style.
Oh, I don't think so. For a while I've been saying that I think Limerick will get to the All-Ireland final, but yeah, and I was thinking that Galway would probably just about edge 2 or 3 points. But the more you see of Limerick, they had their wobble this year. Every team's had their wobble at some stage, and they had it against Clare, getting beaten out the gate by 11 points at Cusack Park. And I thought that day, this is Limerick's off day, because I wasn't giving full credit to Clare. And then they went and they played the way they did in the first half again of the Munster final against Cork, and I thought, geez, they're better than I thought. And then the second half I was like, oh, they're worse than I thought. And then they come out and they do that against Galway. The thing about Galway is they actually deserve a lot of credit here too, because to have yourself in a winning position in the game, despite losing all those players, the spine of your team, that shows savage hunger and composure on the field. And I thought it was the Leinster final, they were 3 points up in Kilkenny going into injury time. Kilkenny get the last 3 points, and the same thing happened again the end of normal time. Clare got the last 3 points and they went on. I thought Johnny Cohen's he had a chance to win the game in normal time and he ends up missing the shot, and at the end of extra time as well, he got the ball and he was running clear and he had another chance, and you see him taking an extra look over his shoulder to make sure he throws it over the bar, and you were like, only in a game like this would he get a second chance. The unlikely man, would he get a second chance to hit the winner. So full credit to Galway, because they had to roll with the punches. I saw positions kind of ended up meaning very little, but Cathal Mannion seemed to be lining up midfield. Sean Loftus, a relative newcomer, and he's been impressing with the under-21s. He had to play the sweeper role, which I'm sure wouldn't have been the plan from the get-go, but with all the injury disruption, I suppose Micheál Donoghue felt it's best to just retain the matchups as best you can and then have a good hurler in there. And I thought they did brilliantly considering what they went up against.
Yeah, definitely. Let's have a look at a poll that Tommy put up yesterday about what the moment of the weekend is. So Nicky Quaid's save, Duggan's volley point, Canning and TK sideline cuts, Tony Kelly obviously, and the whole bloody weekend. Well, that's kind of a bit of a cop-out.
It was a massive cop-out.
Who's looking to actually pick the moment of the weekend. Like, Nicky Quaid's save, I just couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it. Like, it happened right down in front of me, like in the Horgan. I was absolutely astonished that any human can be that much like a cat.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And at first you were like, Hardy, why didn't you hit that quicker, or why did you turn back inside? But having watched it back again, the hand pass was a bit above him. He had to touch it down to himself. And if you look at a photograph at the time, there's between one of the players beside him, the goalkeeper, and the Limerick defenders that were scrambling back, there was actually 5 Limerick guys around Harnedy just as that ball was being tipped away from him. So at that stage of the game, for those Limerick players to be getting back, geez, they are machines.
Yeah, we may as well get into a bit of the analysis around this game then and park Clare and Galway just for a few moments. We will get Kieran Carey on Skype hopefully in a few moments' time. We'll hear from John Kiely as well in a couple of minutes. So what happened here? So at the start of the game, the first thing that stuck out to me was that Anthony Nash's puckouts were going disastrously wrong, but Cork were still holding their own in the game. So I thought as soon as they figured out Nash's puckouts, Cork were going to win this game.
But like a lot of these teams, and I would imagine any of these teams who are as professional as they like to say they are, they have live puck-out analysis going on in the stands. So you'd have an analyst up there and he would be doing pitch maps showing exactly where they've won puck-outs, where they've lost puck-outs in the first 15 or 20 minutes. And they'd just get the word down to Nash and say, look, go for this area. That's where we're getting the joy. And that is how it happens now. And it's the same in Gaelic football as well. They're all that professional. They have the analysis and they're able to react live. Nicky Quaid did brilliantly with his puckouts as well. But a lot of that is down to the options that were in front of him. If you have static targets, eventually you're just going to have to start lumping the ball. But they did that concertina effect where they all, slide into the middle, create those pockets. And there was a brilliant puck out that Quaid did over the top, so everyone got sucked out to midfield and sucked into the middle, and he hit a puck out over the top for Darragh O'Donovan, the midfielder, to run onto, and it reminded me of last week, when Rory Began hit that. So like that's where puck out strategy is going now. It's going to keep evolving, because
how do you counteract that concertina effect?
Well, what Limerick were doing, I found, was that Tom Morrissey and Dermot Burns, the 2 wing backs, they were playing zonally. So you might have to accept that, okay, Cork are going to draw players back down the field and let them get the ball there, because it's better them getting it there than winning it in the half-forward line. Because a couple of times you saw that Seamus Harbedy caught puckouts and they were inside the 45, and it gives you a scoring opportunity straight away. In fact, all 4 teams at the weekend at different times, they hit a puck out, the next person who gets it throws it straight over the bar, and it's an absolute killer, because you've probably worked so hard to get into a scoring position and then 5 seconds later, it's cancelled out. It's really, really hard, and it's a constant battle to try and decide, do we protect the back or do we push up on the puck out? I mean, ideally, you want to sort of protect your half back line, who will in turn protect the full back line, have midfield sit rather deep, have the half forwards out on at least the 65, and then have the full forward line split the full back line and half back line. But it's very hard to cover that amount of space. You see, generally the guys that are switched on, they have the hurleys up, they're kind of bouncing left and right, doing their best, but it's very, very hard. Like, ideally you want to allow the opposition to hit the ball to the weak corner back, make him turn, run up the field and miss-hit the ball or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what Limerick were inviting Anthony Nash to do.
But unfortunately, hitting Sean O'Donoghue, hitting it to Colm Spillane, and Damien Cahalane obviously did a lot of damage against Clare in last year's Munster final. I mean, now and again those guys probably are going to do the wrong thing with the ball. And even Limerick at times as well, they went short to Mike Casey, Sean Finnan, Richie English on a few occasions. They didn't all work out either. So it is a constant battle, and as I said earlier, there was 197 puckouts between the games, so they're crucial. And some are going to go wrong. I mean, that's just the nature of it. Like, it's a risk-reward factor. But one thing you can't do is simply have a predictable strategy where you go long all the time. Hence, look at Tipperary this year. Yeah,
when it comes to the Limerick inside forwards, I would have thought that getting them into one-on-one positions would have absolutely destroyed Cork. They managed to get themselves into a lot of one-on-ones in the second half, really, as far as I can recall. it wasn't as detrimental as you might have thought. Like, I know both sides racked up huge scores, so maybe it was detrimental. Maybe that's the reason why Cork lost the game. Who knows? But it felt that Cork were managing to kind of plug the leak to a certain extent.
I suppose if Aaron Gillan had to have his shooting boots on, and I mean shooting boots because he kept losing his hurley, then they might have been able to push clear the first half.
Is that like, because a couple of people have pointed that out, like I think Cyril Farrell mentioned it and Donal O'Grady mentioned it on Sunday Game last night as well, like that they've mentioned it about other players as well, that it's a weakness in the game. Like it's obviously something that comes with, I don't know, added strength. Is it just more concentration, they're losing at a hurl?
Yeah, I wondered myself. It happened to him 4 times against Limerick and at least 5 if not 6 times yesterday as well. Very, very unusual. And I was thinking, is it his grip strength? And I thought no, because I remember earlier in the year Mary I came up for a club challenge, or well, club versus college challenge match, and he was out in the field, and I was beside him one time when he struck the ball, and it was just the most beautiful sound of a strike. So he's a beautiful striker, and seemed to have a lot of power there. So I wouldn't have thought it's something to do with grip strength, but maybe it's a case of, like, if there's a high ball coming in, you want to hold off your man like that, and he had Colm Spillane on him, who seems like an absolute bear. So you're trying to hold someone off to catch the ball like that. So you're probably putting your hurley in an area where it's going to be pulled and dragged a little bit, because the guy is trying to get a bit of purchase on you. But like the person who's, and like maybe it'll try and induce a free as well, because the ref will see the hurley's gone, there's clearly some sort of contact there, I give it. But the person really losing out there is probably Gillan, because he's straight through on goal. Like, if he can hold on to it, he's straight through on goal and he's not going to miss. No.
So you think basically this could have been over in normal time had he had the hurl in his hand a little bit more often?
Well, who knows? Limerick would have definitely been in a much better position, and I would imagine Cork would have responded as well. Like some of the leaders they've got in the field, the likes of like Daniel Carney, Conor Lahan. It didn't fully happen for him in the first half, but 1-3 in the second half. I definitely have to mention Pat Horgan as well. He got just a point from play, but his movement was incredible, because like Mike Casey was trying to pick him up, and Mike Casey's an excellent full back, but Horgan got a yard on him many times, and the ball just wasn't fed into him enough. I thought the whole full forward line needed a little bit more ball. Conor Lahan was probably starved of it in the first half. He was playing inside, and like that was the problem, just getting it into your full forward line. I suppose that's the problem for everyone, because that's what you're always trying to do.
Yeah, who was the standout performer for Cork, do you think? Was it Daniel Carney? Like Dara Fitzgibbon as well, I thought was excellent.
Yeah, Dara Fitzgibbon was excellent. Do you know what? At the very start of the game, Dara Fitzgibbon went off on a solo run straight down the heart of the Limerick defence, and who was chasing him down? Only Kyle Hayes, and Kyle Hayes was gaining on him. And I just thought that was amazing that any player could be able to keep into Dara Fitzgibbon. But trying to pick out who was their best performer, I thought Christopher Joyce got on an awful lot of the ball. Actually, I wonder with the Cork backline, are there enough really silky hurlers in there to match up with the physicality? And like, you don't want to go too hard on players, but like the spine of their defence, and I know Owen Cadigan was playing wing back, and I thought he was quite good, but like, the ball being delivered into the forward line from the likes of Diarmuid Burns and Declan Hannon, they probably have a few guys who are a slight bit better at using the ball than Cork do. And Darragh O'Donovan, I don't think gets enough credit for Limerick, and I hear people saying he was quiet, but the amount of times he gets the ball and uses it wisely, like a lot of midfielders turn and strike the ball and don't look at where it's going, but he used it really well and just brings his wing forwards into play. And a couple of the likes of Tom Morrissey has been brilliant this year. He struggled to get into the game, but
yeah, why was that?
I don't know. It just didn't happen for him. I mean, he was doing the same things he's normally doing, and it just didn't happen. By the way, we mentioned scores of the weekend, and on that poll there that Tommy put up, Peter Duggan's stupid point against Galway was mentioned. Duggan had another brilliant one as well. He caught a puck out. He miscaught it. It came down. He flicked it back to himself. Turned, ran, smacked the ball off the ground, got it up and straight over the bar. And that other point, which levelled the game with, 8 minutes to go, that was ridiculous as well. There was 4 or 5 guys around him. He was dunted at least 4 times and still managed to get it over. Groat Hegarty had a couple of unreal scores as well. He does that unbelievable kind of chop up into his hand, the ball's on the ground, straight over the bar. So the likes of him stood up. I thought Kyle Hayes, as the game wore on, got more into it. I don't think he was in it throughout. And then Seamus Flanagan, his assist for Cian Lynch's point was fabulous. He got it in the corner, and for the goal. And the thing is, Cian Lynch had actually won the turnover maybe 10 seconds before that as well. One of the Cork players was going back, and the amount of time Cian Lynch gets his hurley in around the guys he's rising at and flicks it away, he probably doesn't get enough credit for that side of the game.
No, yeah, that's definitely been another element he's added to the game this year. We'll come back to all of that in a moment as well, but Limerick legend Kieran Carey is listening in. We'll be with him in just a moment, but before that, Maura Trasach caught up with John Kiely after the game.
Hats off to them, they put us under real pressure, 5 points up with 10 minutes to go, really difficult. So we responded really, really well and delighted with the response in the last 10 minutes.
It was your substitutions really that made the difference.
It was indeed, yeah, and a huge tribute to our panel really of 36 players, the way the lads came on and made a huge impact. Shane Dowling, Barry Nash, David Reedy, William Donoghue, all the boys that came on the subs, they did fantastically well, and hugely proud of them because they've made a massive effort over the last number of weeks in terms of pressing the A team in training, and it's really paid off.
Your team has made an appeal now as well to Limerick people to enjoy it. There's a build-up, it's great, it's really special to get into an All-Ireland final, but leave the team alone to do the preparation. It's something, it's been a factor in Limerick in recent years. It must be, I don't want to use the word worry, but it's certainly something you'd be cognisant of.
No, listen, the last couple of weeks were fine. The bottom line is, the players have a job to do, and that's to play and train and go to work. And the supporters have a job to do, and it's to support the team. And I think if both go and do their job, we'll be fine. And they were phenomenal today. I take my hat off to our supporters today. When we really needed them out there today, they lifted the roof and have had a huge, huge impact on the team. And we're so, so grateful for them. And, I hope they really, really enjoyed it because that's what they're there for, And it's great. It's great. And, we'll work hard for the next couple of weeks and we'll get our heads down very shortly.
Well, that penalty and another goal went in, definitely. I felt like if there was a roof on Croke Park, it was going to go.
Yeah, listen, it was incredible,
How did you feel?
I was calm, yeah. I was really looking back at my defence to know, have we all the gates closed behind, because no point in scoring goals if you leave the gate open behind you, They got one back. So, yeah, you have to keep cool and try and keep organised and keep focused on the job in hand because the final whistle isn't gone till the final whistle is gone, and that's it. So, to be fair, we stood strong, in the finish and saw it out.
Yeah, John Kiely there speaking to Morrissey and Kiely yesterday in the aftermath of that unbelievable win. And I'm delighted to say that Limerick legend Kieran Carey joins us now on the line. A very good morning to you, Kieran.
Good morning to you, lads. How's the farm?
Very well. There's always a special element of making an All-Ireland final, and then there's a special element of making an All-Ireland final in that fashion. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, without a doubt, the whole weekend. So when you look at both games, Saturday went to a draw, an extra time, and the same again yesterday. I'd say history in the makings. I'd say it was never done before. And the big learning for me, really, I suppose, is if you have to be contenders to win an All-Ireland, you need 20 players, but you need 25 in case it goes to extra time.
Yeah, and Limerick certainly had that yesterday. What was your own reaction? What was your emotions like at the full-time whistle there yesterday?
Yeah, but even watching our game, I tend to try contain my emotions and sit down to kind of see it properly, because my emotions kind of hijack me. I won't see the whole thing accurate as I'd like to see. But yeah, sure. Listen, without a doubt, I wouldn't be human if I didn't get caught up in it yesterday. Especially the way the game went. There were so many incidents. I suppose it was no secret yesterday. Limerick's bench was powerful, and likewise, it was no secret that Cork were kind of frail in defence. They knew the Nicky Quaid factor with his save, and the introduction of Shane Dowling didn't change the whole lot. So, yeah, it was fairly emotional, but lovely to see it.
Yeah, the Shane Dowling intervention there, as you mentioned, was absolutely phenomenal. Man of the match for me yesterday. It's great for him as well on a personal level to see him succeed on a level like that. Is it as good a performance as you've seen from him, and as good an individual performance you've seen from a sub, perhaps?
Yeah, without a doubt, but a great indication to see how tuned in he was, because he's obviously accepted he's a massive impact sub this year, whereas 2-3 years ago he was a regular, he was a full forward. And, at the end of the day, for any backman to see the amount of hurling that he's done prior to this year, next thing all of a sudden he's coming on. Well, he's a great brain. There was a chap alongside me when the penalty came. He said, will Aaron Gillane take that? I said, not a hope. Shane Dowling will take it. And if he took it 10 times, he'd hang it 10 times. But he was after scoring an outstanding free prior to that whole run to the stand as well. So, it was great top class. He was tuned in, and, as I said, he did a top class job when he came on.
Kieran, can you talk to us about the ability of this Limerick team to fight back? Because if you look at the games they've played this year, they were 8 points down against Galway in the league, came back and won, and that was a promotion clash. They were down against Tipperary in the league as well and came back, brought it to extra time. They were down against, I think, Clare as well in the league, and against different teams at different times during this championship, including Cork yesterday as well. They just don't lie down.
They don't, you see, and that is going back now, actually, to be fair. Watching Dublin the last number of years in football, Jim Gavin, he's absolutely calculated on every sub and the time that he brings them in, and Limerick are no different. I said back in March it would take a fair team to beat Limerick, and I also said at that time, they're possibly Dublin are in football, Limerick are in hurling when it comes to the strength and conditioning. But definitely, to answer your questions, their bench has been absolutely massive in any game where they have been down or where it's tight. If you even look at just every one of them that come on, Pat Ryan scored an outstanding goal. Deborah Reedy scored. William O'Donoghue did his job. Barry Nash and Shane Down. I think the 6 subs, I think they probably scored about 2-4 when they come on yesterday. So I think that's self-explanatory.
And Kieran, when you mentioned that you think that Limerick are in strength and conditioning, that what Dublin are, what do you mean by that? Do you think there's been a marked change in recent times?
Well, there is a change in recent times. If you take Kieran Lynch, you were talking about him there a while ago, he's 22, 23. He's, after coming through the academy since about 16, 17, so he's a good 6 or 7 years of strength and conditioning gone through it, and he's reaping the rewards now physically. But that's only one of, about 15 or 16 these guys are together there that long. So obviously they're fulfilling that at the moment.
And just watching Keane score that goal yesterday, we had you on the Hurling show a couple of weeks ago, and you were talking about watching your daughter Sarah play for Limerick, that you try and keep the emotions in check, and the same with Keane because he's your own blood as well. So what was it like watching Keane when he was going through for that goal?
Yeah, very good. In fairness to Keane, he's slightly changed his game this year, actually. In fairness to him, he's actually working very hard when he hasn't the ball. And he's a left-handed, he's a toe curler. So that probably makes it more difficult for the opposition. And he's the hurley in, he's the hip in, he's a big man. Yeah, the goal was outstanding. But I actually thought the vision of the Seamus Flanagan was beautiful as well. He got the ball in that position. It was never in doubt, and very unlucky that he didn't hang another one. Now, to be fair to Limerick, they hung 3 goals yesterday and possibly could have hung another 4. But, they've learned from their mistake against Kilkenny. They had 5 glorious goal chances against Kilkenny. And thankfully, at least they got 3 yesterday, which was, great for the confidence in the forwards, because they would have realised they would have missed a few goal chances in the past.
Yeah, and just before you were on with us, Kieran, I'm not sure if you heard Seamus just talking about how Keane's added kind of a great tackling element to his game this year as well, and it was seen in that turnover that was so crucial. I'm sure that's something, skills like that he wouldn't ordinarily have had as a forward, have been worked on big time this year.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because I suppose when he first came on, I suppose it was a settling period for him to get used to the pace and comfortable with it, and the next phase then was where they were going to play him. And I think he was a utility kind of forward. So definitely there was a lot of work put in him this year, and that's fairly evident because he's having an outstanding year up to now.
Kieran, just to talk about Aaron Gillan for a moment, he got man of the match yesterday, but he could have got a couple of goals. He could have got a few more goals, or a few goals against Kilkenny as well. Seems to lose his hurley an awful lot. So can we talk about the good of him, and then the fact, why is he losing his hurley and missing these goal chances? Because he's got such quality.
Yeah, I suppose, to be fair to Aaron, he's after being catapulted this year. It's his first year, right? So it's like you're going to be learning in the game of hurling all the time. We just get a lovely example of Kieran Lynch, what he didn't do before, what he's doing now. So at least it's something to work on and improve on. And he's catching the balls. All he's doing actually is just obviously a kind of a habit he's doing. Because in fairness to the modern referees, if they say any bit of a tug in a tog, any bit of a tug in a jersey, or certainly the hurley being pulled, they'll blow straight away. So he's just dropping the hurley for some reason or another. And I wouldn't mind him dropping the hurley if he was accurate with the boot. But he appears to have 2 left feet, so it ain't working for him. So all he has to do really is be a lot more stronger on the tackle. Catch the ball, harsh your man out of the way, and make a room and just hang it.
How impressed have you been with Declan Hannon at centre-back this year? Because, we've seen him play underage at centre-back for Limerick, but he spent his first few years in the forwards.
Well, to be fair to Declan, I actually think the way the game is after evolving, it suits him to the ground, because if you look at Limerick yesterday, to be fair, Nicky Quaid did yesterday what usually Anthony Nash does. He was pinging to the half-back, pinging to the cornerback, and Declan Hannon got a lot of ball. And, gave fantastic ball to the forwards, as did Dermot Burns. And he caught some great balls as well. So, big improvement in Declan this year, and your centre-back always needs to be hurling well in that position if we're going to have any chance of progressing in the championship. And thankfully, Declan hurled extremely well yesterday as well.
You mentioned the strength and conditioning element there, Kieran, and I guess the comparison with the Dubs, but the other comparison you can make is the mental resilience of this Limerick team, and Caroline Curd has been kind of praised for her introduction into the backroom team this year, and as a performance coach, I think that's been mostly down to psychology and that mental resilience that is built up. It seems like John Kiely is controlling every little bit of a controllable he can.
Well, to be fair, in the modern game, whatever is required to have a particular person right, or the team right, you have to use whatever is out there. And in fairness to John Kiely, he has to get serious credit. And I know it's cliche. Every stone is unturned. There's nothing that he isn't doing to make sure that his prep is 110% right for the squad.
Kieran, you've been part of Limerick teams that got close in the past, and you were involved in the management setup a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. What's different between that team that got close in 2014, pushed Kilkenny pretty hard in the rain, versus this team now that looks a bit more dependable, not just a dogged team, but full of quality hurlers as well?
I suppose the two main reasons really would be obviously the quality. I said at the start of the year, it was by the best squad of Limerick players I have ever seen by a country mile. So that alone has to stand on its merit. And number two, there's no baggage, nobody anything in regard to the history or the past. They appear to be hurling with beautiful freedom. They're all comfortable. And I suppose the biggest one of all, where Limerick would have lacked in the past really, is a small bit of mental toughness and mental steel. And Limerick have showed that hugely in the last 2 games.
How big can the hype get in Limerick around an All-Ireland final, Kieran?
Well, they haven't an All-Ireland one in 45 years, so the hype is going to get fairly big. But as I said, these guys, I think they'll enjoy it, and I think they'll get through it. And I don't think they'll allow the hype to prevent them from performing the way they have been performed. And if that is the case, they'll have a fantastic chance.
Kieran, how much do you think they'll beat Galway or Limerick by? Or Galway or Clare by?
Being honest with you now, right, from a player's point of view at this stage, I'd say they don't even really mind who comes through.
Because they'll win handy either way.
Yeah, either way. I said whoever comes now. Like, they're in a lovely position. They're sitting back. They're in an All-Ireland final. They're watching 2 teams going at it next week down in Thurles. They've played both teams already. They know each other fairly well. From my own point of view, I think we'd probably have a better chance of overturning Galway, more so than Clare. But I'd say from a player's point of view, I'd say not even thinking or looking at that, whoever comes. And that's the attitude that's required, really.
Yeah, well, that seems to be as I was saying to Shane there, I'm not sure that Shane agreed, but that does seem to be the perceived logic at the moment, that Limerick would much rather get a crack at Galway than they would against Limerick. Why is that, do you think?
It's just funny the way it goes, because everybody was kind of giving Galway a roar in favourite Saturday. And no one was kind of giving Clare half a chance. So I did something there Thursday night, and there was 5 or 6 of us on the panel, and I was the only one, and Darragh Hone, and they kind of gave Clare an old chance. I think actually, it would be 2 different games, obviously, because in fairness to Galway will not allow Nicky Quaid the same freedom that he got yesterday. They're a team that squeeze up in the puck outs and force Nicky Quaid to go along. Whereas Clare possibly could be slightly like Cork. They'd give him a small bit of freedom, but definitely from a Clare point of view, and obviously Paul Kinnerk's hand is in both teams. If you look at Clare, he's spent a good number of years there, and they have that system off to a T. Limerick have it now, but Clare, to be fair, this year, I believe from what I've seen, they're slightly more direct than what they were, and it's after improving it.
Lastly then, is it coming home? Is the 45-year wait for an All-Ireland going to end this year?
Listen, sure, you'll be hoping it would. To be fair, every man, woman and child and dog in Limerick are crying out for an All-Ireland for the last 45 years. Hence why you'll have a massive crowd again. At the end of the day, all they have to do is kind of, keep the feet in the ground, keep the head straight, and go about their business as if it's just another match. Obviously, this is a massive title. There's a lot at stake, but if they just stick to the process, go out and do their jobs, I believe that they have a fantastic chance.
Actually, Kieran, just one final question then as well. In 94 and 96, as a player, what did you have to deal with in terms of build-up and hype? And, was it ever just really close to home or you just couldn't avoid it?
Actually, I was telling somebody 2 days ago, because there was a bit of a scramble for tickets, and I was captain in 96. And I said to this friend of mine, I said, how many tickets I put through my hand in the 96 final? He said, how many? I said 85. That's not an amount of tickets. So that alone, that heat isn't on the players as it was in our time. So, and that's a massive help. But come here, the whole thing has changed from 94 to 96 now, compared to now. I think they're being a lot more minded, well camouflaged, well drilled in regarding to speaking to media, talking to media, and what you need to say to the media. So, I think they'll take this with their stride, actually.
Geez, you must have had third and fourth cousins popping up out of nowhere there with 85 tickets changing hands.
yeah, it has a lot of rights. Third and fourth cousins, but I suppose at the time I come from a family of 10, and there was uncles and aunts, and where I was working. But you see, at the end of the day, what really should have been done there, no player should really have any extra pressure around tickets. Park it up and let someone else or designate a family member to look after what needs to be looked after, because there's a job to be done here, and you certainly don't want any distractions be put in your way that could prevent you from igniting in an All-Ireland final. And that's what every player wants to do, really, is go out and ignite Croke Park in an All-Ireland final. So you don't want any distractions, really.
Yeah, well, I'm sure John Kiely will have all that under control over the next couple of weeks. Kieran, thanks a million for your time.
You're very welcome, lads.
Kieran Carey there, Limerick legend, on the line with us. It's not something that happens anymore. All the players in both codes really say that it's something, even 10 years ago you might have got it, but this decade it seems to have been phased out a little bit. Somebody else looks after the tickets for you.
Yeah, when my brother Paddy was playing for Tip in All-Ireland finals as well, you'd be well warned, have your requests in good and early, and he tried to look after you. But if you started asking him very close to games, you'd get that look. He wouldn't be happy at all, because I think players are very much have it hammered home with them. Have your tickets sorted early and have a cut-off point.
Yeah, definitely. Let's turn back a little bit to Saturday's game now. Maura Trassa was chatting to Daithi Regan after the match.
I don't think so, because at the end of the day, Galway had to pull 3 points with 5 minutes to go at the end of extra time to keep themselves in the game. They led throughout the 70 minutes. They had an absolutely superb opportunity with Johnny Cohen underneath the Horgan stand here, who showed great composure then to put them ahead at the end of extra time. And I was glad for him on a personal basis, because he lived with it forever if Clare had gone ahead and won. So, Galway will look to a lot of chances that they had, where most people here thought the game was over, at the end of the normal 70 minutes, when they kept ploughing ahead and going 2-3 ahead, 2-3 ahead, 2-3 ahead, 2-3 ahead, I think for a fourth time. You kind of felt, well, yeah, Clare's resistance has to break, because you can't keep taking these knocks. And Clare just kept coming back at them. So I don't think it would be fair to Clare today to say Galway left that behind them, And even when Clare went to 2 ahead with 4 minutes on the clock at the end of extra time, I never felt this is it, they've done it. Even Galway shorn of their top stars, they were just so game to come back. So if ever there was an actual case to say, yeah, a draw absolutely was the fairest result, well, that's the greatest example of a draw was the fairest result today, and I'm glad it was a draw, to be honest.
Yeah, Daithi Regan there speaking to Maura Trassa on Saturday night. Like, it felt to me after the game, just sitting back and just thinking about what happened, it felt like I'd watched 4 hurling matches after that Clare-Galway game, because you think about different sort of elements of the game, like the Dathi Burke versus John Conlon battle, how many different ways that went. You think about, like, David Burke's performance, I think, is one of the most underrated things about the day. You think about Shane O'Donnell's performance in and out and coming back on as a sub. It felt like watching a box set, and you've gone on a complete binge of hurling. That's what I felt like. I binge watched hurling, and so much stuff happened in over the course of over 90 minutes. Like, let's talk about that John Conlon versus Dathi Burke battle, because it was epic.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and it had been hyped up so much that we just thought, maybe we're going to see very little of this as well. Or Dathi Burke's supposed to be injured. Like, Conlon didn't get much ball in the first half. Definitely didn't get good supply. Dathi Burke came out with a few balls. He actually had to do a couple of fouls as well. And I think as a full-back, you have to accept that. And I think the manager accepts that. You are the last kind of line there. So at times, you're just going to have to pull a man down. And that's just the end of it. And I was even watching the minor game, Tip and Kilkenny yesterday. You see it now and again. And all your teammates are roaring, pull him down. So, I mean, you accept that. In the second half, Conlon, a few of his scores actually came from, there would have been a bit of a schmozzle, hens around the turnip, and all of a sudden he just whips the ball out of nowhere and throws it over the bar. Like, if he gets half a yard, it's going over the bar, really. So, like, that was brilliant, and it kind of lived up to it. And just the fact that we have it a second time this weekend as well, isn't that just lovely?
It's great. It's like, I know we kind of take the piss out of hurling snobs all the time, but I think the whole country's got a higher hurling IQ, if I can use that term, this summer, just because of the sheer number. I can't believe I just said hurling IQ out loud and not actually just in my head.
Are you going to start talking hurling emotion next?
Like, if they can get to the emotional pitch next week, there, then they can do it. But he was at the emotional pitch for some of Saturday night, John Conlon.
Conlon himself said afterwards that his girlfriend mentioned to him the night before, I've never seen you as relaxed. And maybe, you know, just a guy at the top of his game, just full of confidence. He probably knows if the ball comes to me, I'm going to do the right thing.
Well, he gave that comment to the print journals after the game. Let's see what he gave to the broadcast journalists. He was speaking to Maura Trassa on Saturday.
Was it at half time maybe you were late coming out? Were you getting a talking to?
No, look, our management are very composed and very relaxed, and they don't really give us any body. You know, it's more a player-driven setup, and with their guidance. And we said at half time, look, we hadn't played well for the first 15-20 minutes, and then some lads stood up and got a few great scores again before half time and got us going again. And we knew at half time we were well in the game, and we just said we needed to come out, be composed, and stand up, and that's what we did.
We know you do well once you get to Croke Park. You've had difficulty getting this far. But was that why maybe your start wasn't as good as you wanted? Was it maybe stage fright, a bit of nerves?
I could, I suppose, say that, yeah. I suppose we were a bit nervous and we made a lot of mistakes, which they turned over and scored, and made us, you know, look foolish. You know, and then we'd said during the week that was going to happen, and we had said that scenario might occur, you know, that we might make a lot of mistakes. And then all of a sudden the ball started sticking to hand, and ball going in was used well, and you know, we got things right then. And but look, that's the sign of a good team. And look, Galway are a fantastic group, and you know, they're worthy All-Ireland champions. And look, we're just looking forward to having another battle with them next week, and you know, I'm sure it won't be too much between us again.
Was there any moment when you felt you had won this?
I thought when we went up, yeah, and I actually got a goal chance myself there, and I said, "Jesus, this is the moment we've been talking about all year to finish." But look, I hit it too high, and look, we'll learn from that, and we'll practice that during the week and try and get back into those positions. And look, Galway will do the exact same thing. They went down the other side of the field and missed another goal chance. So look, that's the way of championship hurling. It ebbs and flows, and you know, you're playing all your life to be in moments like that, and hopefully next week it'll be no different.
I'm just watching you here, and unfortunately this is radio, people can't see your face, but you have a massive smile on. I don't think I've ever seen anybody so delighted with just a game, because it was really enjoyable, even for me as a Galwegian trying to be impartial in the press box. It was really enjoyable, and it's obvious you've enjoyed it.
Look, before the match we went out and had a walk around the field, and these are the days you want to enjoy. Like, and I suppose in 10 years on the panel now, and you know, before I would have probably got anxious leading up to games, and as my girlfriend said to me last night, you're the most relaxed man I've ever met now in the last year or so. So look, I just, as I've been saying for the last, you know, year or two, just go out and enjoy it, and it might end tomorrow, you know, anything could happen. So these are the days to enjoy, and you're all your life, you know, trying to get to this stage, and I said just to everyone, just enjoy it, because you might never be back again.
Yeah, great quote from John Conlon there. Excellent journalism from Maura Trassa and Kiely to get the best out of him, because it wasn't said in the press conference with the papers. It was
change the record, John. Come on, give us something different.
Like we were just kind of talking in the middle of that clip, just like about all the different elements that won't get any airtime, really. Like the last point, Ian Galvin's point, which you want to talk about, and David Fitzgerald's performance off the bench. Like there's so much other stuff here from this Clare performance that won't get a lot of airtime this week.
Yeah, like Ian Galvin has been a brilliant sub this year, and on a lot of other teams I'm sure he'd start. Like he came on and got a goal against Tipperary. He got 2 points from the bench here, and one of his points was scored with the hurley held the wrong way. So normally you'd be holding it and the boss would be kind of pointing upwards, the grain would be going that way, but he actually had the hurley and the toe of it was dipped downwards, and he still hit it over the bar. Just so unusual. It was a game for absurd things to happen. Like again, I mentioned that Johnny Cohen chance earlier, and he missed the one at the end of normal time, went up the field, and Galvin got himself blocked down when he had Davy Fitzgerald free inside him. Now it would have been hard to hand pass the ball 20 yards over the top of the defenders. And then at the end of injury time, the way that Clare so cleverly worked, like obviously first of all Niall Burke hitting the sideline wide, and you know, we saw 2013 with Cork and all that kind of thing, that they should have probably played keep ball in the corner, but he gave Donald Toohey an opportunity to work the ball out. And you'd have to say Donald Toohey struggled with the puck outs early on. Like 4 puck outs went against him, and I think Galway got scores out of 4 of them. And that wouldn't be just down to him, but obviously he's the one hitting the puck outs. But he worked that final puck out to Colm Gavin. He gave it to, I think, Conor Cleary, who gave it to there was 4 people involved anyway, and Davy Fitzgerald, who came on, had a great impact. He soloed through, and I just saw him. I thought he's going to wind up here now. He has 4 different Galway guys coming on him from different directions, and I thought at the semi-final last year, Mikey Cahill had the ball to level the game for Tipperary against Galway, and he got blocked down by Conor Whelan. And, you know, that was crucial, absolutely crucial at that time. And I thought Davy Fitzgerald is going to get himself blocked here because he likes soloing the ball. But the way he saw Jason McCarthy give him a sympathetic hand pass and straight over the bar, like, it was just great composure. And that's the sort of thing that shows that Clare can go on and do it again. Like, everyone talks about how, you know, you often hear these the experts say you can't win an All-Ireland with a sweeper. But, like, Clare would be out if they didn't use a sweeper.
Yeah. And
that was the changing of the game. And last year, Waterford were 10 minutes from winning an All-Ireland with a sweeper. And, you know, I had Dan Shanahan on the live hurling show yesterday, and he was talking about it as well, that, you know, like, sometimes you just draw an extra man back a little bit. Sometimes you do have a permanent sweeper, but you have to be a little bit flexible. And 15, the old traditional formation doesn't suit everyone. And to be honest, the whole traditional formation is gone anyway, because everyone kind of moves with needs must.
Yeah, like, the crucial thing as well about the sweeper is that a sweeper was played on Saturday and it was still one of the best games we've seen.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a very important point, that, like, especially last time where people are like, oh, the sweeper's killing the game, and it's, no, that's not the whole story here. Maybe that's kind of also part of the entire reason. Like, a sweeper can be part of a very entertaining game.
Yeah, well, it all then depends on how do you use the ball. And, like, if you've got, like, so Galway would have ended up with a spare man at the back. So the way it would have worked out is, you at one end of the field you've got 7 versus 6, 7 Clare defenders against 6 Galway attackers. At the other end of the field it's 6 versus 5. So actually those Clare forwards have a bit more space, and the sweeper, which was Aidan Hart for the most part, he had more space to cover. And you know, if you have a sweeper, that means that all your defenders have to attack the ball and gamble a little bit more, because it'll probably break, and if it breaks behind you, the sweeper is there. But you need to get that sweeper, you have to get value out of him. And when he gets the ball, and when any of your defenders get the ball in those situations, you know you have a spare man and you have to work it up the field correctly. If you look at Wexford in the quarter-final against Clare, they used the ball so terribly. They really just poked the ball up the field, gave their forwards no chance. But when Colin Gavin went back there, like, straight away he set up Tony Kiely for 2 points. And the ball was just used really, really well, and more so as the game went on. And that's when it's effective. And if you use the ball well, it'll lead to a high-scoring game. And the sweeper isn't killing it. You just have to make sure that you use it properly, and then it'll still be a good hurling match.
And Jason McCarthy, the first inductee to the Donal O'Donovan Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, it was just such a brilliant score, because you'd think the pressure is on here. Like, it would be very easy to mess up a chance like that. You know, Johnny Cohen at the end of normal time, I've mentioned it a few times now. I suppose the fact that he's under pressure, and, you know, if you're a right-handed striker, most people would say if you're a right-handed striker that way, if you want to strike the ball long, that's your side, that's your strong side. But if you want accuracy, on this side you've got great control, because your right arm is your dominant one. It's the easiest one to kind of ping it like that, and he did it really well. And he had a man closing down, and I suppose that just made him go, geez, I need to get rid of this, and he didn't think too long about it.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Let's have a look at what Donal Maloney was saying, Clare's joint manager. He was speaking to Maura Trassa as well.
You were late coming out after half-time. What caused the delay?
Look, I mean, we'd just been hit by a bus in the first 15 minutes probably, and we had a lot of stuff to sort out, and players are magnificent. They just wanted to get it right, and we probably lost track of time a little bit, right, when we were trying to get stuff started, but they were very, very good.
Was it perhaps stage fright, or maybe nerves to finally get back to Croke Park? We know how much it meant to them to come back, and then maybe the occasion maybe got a little bit better of them?
I don't think so. I think, you know, Galway did that to Kilkenny in the Leinster final replay, like, so it's not as if they haven't done it before. I'm not sure it was stage fright or anything like that. These guys, a lot of them have played in this stadium before, but the game is still 80 minutes long by and large, and the way we knew we'd respond.
They say goals win games. That goal in extra time didn't win the game, but it brought you fairly close.
It did. It brought us close. Like, with Galway, responded magnificently. The 2 points, straight afterwards, and, you know, fair juice to them. Like, you know, there was a big momentum swing, and they came back. Like, so, it kind of just proved that I don't think either team deserved to lose on the day.
Now, of course, already people are going to be saying that was amazing, but they're going to turn the page and move on to next week to a replay. That's quite difficult.
It is, yeah, but look, I mean, we've been playing round robin all year, and so I think teams move on very, very quickly. The recovery is normally fairly clear, the routine is fairly clear, and I think that teams will move on very, very quickly.
It's probably more of a mental move on though than a physical move on at this point, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, the boys are as fit as they're going to be at this point. Like so it's really, really important that everyone knuckles down now and gets refocused, right? Because the next 5-6 days won't be long flying by.
Yeah, Donald Maloney there speaking to Máire Trasa in the wake of that draw on Saturday night. Daithi Regan was also speaking to Máire Trasa ahead of next weekend's replay in Thurles, and here he is chatting about how Galway can figure Clare out.
Yeah, I think he will. To be honest with you, because what he'll do is he'll look at Conor Cooney, he'll look at Conor Whelan, he'll look at Mannion, who was unstoppable at times in the first half, and he'll demand more off them. I don't know what the case is going to be with Joe Cooney, or Joe Canning, but when he was tracked today in the second half and didn't have the space, Joe's a player now who doesn't have the pace of Ure, although he's still pretty quick, but he likes to float around and pick up ball, and he can pop balls over the bar. When they went man to man on him, he didn't like it, and he didn't have the space to basically opt as director of operations, whereas Gavin could and Kiely could. Galway didn't have a director of operations when Joe Canning was marked and then went off. So I think what he needs to do is demand more off the other marquee forwards, because they are marquee forwards, but they went missing, and Clare got numbers back, and Clare were very competitive under the puck-outs, and they won as many puck-outs as they could, but it's still very much in the melting pot now. I mean, you know, there's no point in saying who you think will win the replay, because we've all got to dissect what we've seen and look at key margin areas in the game. But really, I think you can't make a judgment on this until you actually see who's fit and able and present themselves for duty next weekend. It would be illogical really to say now who you think will win it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you for your take until I realised that the fitness concerns and also the way and the manner in which Saturday's game meant that this is an unpredictable game. The very definition of unpredictable. Like, hypothetically, if all Galway's players are fit, does it give them the upper hand a little bit?
Yeah, I'd say just about, if they're all fit, but I mean, that's a huge if. And the Joe Canning point that Dathi made there, that nobody else was really standing up looking for the ball. I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to that as the game went on, the ball just started to be trucked up the field, and that over-reliance on hitting the ball to Johnny Glynn. And you have to take tiredness into play as well, because if you have the ball and you've been under pressure for that long, you are just going to truck it long, because you're like, I just need to get rid of this ball.
Can Galway win ball in the middle of the field without Johnny Glynn? Can they afford to just leave him inside on the edge of the square?
Well, they can definitely, because they did it against Kilkenny and they absolutely dominated the replay, even though he was in the square for pretty much, I think the vast majority of the game. So
against Clare though?
Against Clare, I'm sure it can be done. So I don't see why not. If they won All-Ireland without him starting most of the time last year, and have been competitive for the last number of years without him always starting on the square, I don't see why not.
It just causes a bit of chaos, like with the goal before half-time and all that. Like it felt that, I know it was a bit of a cock-up from Clare realistically, but the fact that Johnny Glynn was there like a wrecking ball kind of caused a little bit of consternation in their minds, and I think that's why the ball broke.
Yeah, and as well, like, he got the little flick in on Pat O'Connor as well for Conor Cooney's goal. Yeah, and like he won a lot of, like, there was a couple of times when he won a ball, let's say on the edge of their 21, and if he had someone on his or coming through on his shoulder, he would have been able to pop it through. But as well, Donald too, he made an unbelievable save at one stage. I'm not 100% who. It was from Conor Cooney as well in the second half, and that might have put them down. Actually, Clare as well, you'd have to say that having levelled the game, you'd think they would have the momentum going into extra time, if such a thing exists. You know, that's always talked about, who has the momentum now, and maybe it just doesn't matter. But in the first half of extra time, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wides in the first half, and they got a point from Ian Gavin, and I thought, you know, their goose could be cooked because they went 2 points behind, but they just never gave up, and you know, Aaron Shanahan got the goal, and then it was Galway's turn to chase.
Toohey and Quaid, have they made a case for wrestling that all-star away from Eoin Murphy? They both had brilliant performances.
They did, and I was thinking about this yesterday, but Eoin Murphy has a big body of evidence there behind him now at this stage, so it's probably still about
90
him.
minutes from yesterday.
Huh? Yeah, and I suppose there is a bit of recency bias, so if one of those gives another great performance or two between now and the end of the year, they could just about rest it away.
Yeah, you are watching OTB AM. It's live with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. Of course, it was a fantastic weekend for hurling. There were no losers. Well, there was one loser, unfortunately. There was Cork, unfortunately. Here is Seamus Harbedy on whether fitness was the key as Limerick edged the Rebels out.
Just as simple as Cork got tired earlier than Limerick.
I wouldn't necessarily say that, you know. We had a few silly wides and stuff, you know, and conceded a few slappy frees, and you know, games ebb and flow. You know, we always knew Limerick were going to have purple patch come at us again towards the end. So, look, in fairness to them, they stuck at it. So you have to give them fair dues as well. But it's an incredibly tight game. But yeah, unfortunately, out the wrong side of it.
You came in carrying an injury and you managed to keep going through until extra time. At what point did you start feeling that you couldn't go any longer?
It was a completely different injury, unfortunately, and there was rumours of a hamstring injury, but in fairness, the deck in the team was perfect coming into the game. It's just got a dead leg after 20 minutes, you know, 25 minutes, I can't remember, and it just got increasingly stiffening up and just couldn't go on anymore, unfortunately. But look, it's not about me at all, it's about the 30 lads below, and what they've achieved this year is something, you know, very special. Now, you always want to put your best hand up in the All-Ireland series, and we've came up shy, but just incredibly proud of all their efforts.
It must have been very hard though to have come off and then sit there and watch it slip away. It's probably easier to be playing nearly.
Oh, 100%. It's always easy, you know, and you can influence the game from the field. And no, it's never easy coming off, especially in the heat of battle. They're the moments that you're training all year for, and they're the moments that you want to be in there helping your teammates and friends out. So no, it's never easy.
I can just tell that this one has hit you hard.
Yeah, I will. But look, time's a good here, so just back to the drawing board and yeah, on to the next one.
Yeah, not the most flattering image there of Seamus Harbedy doing his best Phil Jones impression.
Damn it, you just took the words right out of my mouth.
Well, we got there before you.
As well as him sitting on the sideline as well, I was looking down at the sideline and I could see Darragh Fitzgibbon was sitting down. He went off injured and he was just kind of sitting down there with his hands on his head when it was clear that Limerick had won as well. Very, very tough for him to take.
You'd be sickened for them. Like, it's... Once you felt that they let that lead slip, extra time was only going to go one way, and I know that's very much hindsight talking.
Yeah, well, if Cork started winning All-Irelands, imagine having to listen to them. Jeez, the arrogance out of them, they put me in the shade.
I like where they're at the moment, where they're present, because I do like the energy that they bring. Like, yesterday was an unbelievable atmosphere in Cork Park. It was absolutely fantastic, so they do bring great energy.
And their finals in 2013, and the semi-final against Dublin, I think there was 60,000 at that in 2013. That was brilliant stuff.
They will be back, though.
Yeah, they will, of course. Sure, they have such a huge amount of players down there. They should be turning out great players. Pat Horgan has only won 1 of 7 All-Ireland semi-finals. You'd like to see him back as well because he is a GOAT. He's an excellent player. That's
a tough old statistic. John Meyler was also speaking to Morrissey afterwards and pretty gutted, as you can imagine.
You know, they really added then with the impetus, and then Cian Lynch's goal really drove them on towards the end, you know, and we couldn't respond, and then they responded better in injury time, or in extra time, and they got a couple of good goals.
Was it the substitutions and the extra legs that made the difference, perhaps? Because we thought with Conor Lahan with getting the goal that might be your day.
Yeah, but I thought it was Limerick substitutions that came in. They really added an impetus to the Limerick going forward. Dowling, Peter Casey and the midfielder came in and really made the difference, you know, and that was it. So, you know, I had to take my hat off to Limerick. I thought they played really well, some incredible hurling, and you know, it was a fantastic game of hurling today, but we came out on the wrong end of it.
Well, so did Cork. Cork also played well, and up until that penalty, really, it was thereabouts.
Yeah, like it was in the melting pot. I thought that it was a fantastic block from where I saw it, but you know, I don't know what happened. And well done to Limerick.
We up in the press box were watching it. Actually, I was sitting alongside Tommy Walsh, former Kilkenny player, and he said he thought it wasn't a penalty at all.
I haven't seen it, so I really couldn't comment on it. Like, you know, so I'd need to watch it. But the referee allowed it, so it is a goal, and that's it.
What are you going to say to your players now once you get back into that dressing room?
I'm extremely grateful to the players for the effort that they've put in over the last 12 months. We've just come up short. And we had that opportunity to win the game, and that's what I need to look at and see how we could have won the game.
Yeah, John Meyler there talking to Morrissey after his side were knocked out of the All-Ireland Hurling Championship yesterday.